Hey folks, welcome back. I'm your host, R.R. Slugger, and if you'll excuse my language, I'll just say that 50,000 is a big sluggin' number. The gravity of this milestone is not lost on me, and today I wanted to take a look back at the history of this channel and how we got here. It all started in May of 2021, when I released the first episode of my Rock Raiders retrospective series. Heavily inspired by Jamie's work on the then defunct Trick Bricks channel, I basically took one look at what he was doing there and decided that I wanted to do that too. Initially, my plans for YouTube only involved Rock Raiders, and I made this decision for a number of reasons. Firstly, Rock Raiders was my favorite LEGO theme. It was a no-brainer to start with something that I was already so passionate about. Additionally, Rock Raiders already had a pre-installed fan base in both Rock Raiders United and Manic Miners. However, in both cases, the focus of this fandom was largely centered around the games, not the toys themselves. I felt that shining a spotlight on the sets and covering them in greater detail could be a niche with potential. Lastly, Rock Raiders was a small theme. With only 8 retail sets, this gave me a pretty safe exit point if this whole YouTube thing didn't turn out to be my jam. After all, I came into this as a complete novice. I had no background in photography or video editing. It was very likely I was just gonna crash and burn. And yet, that didn't happen. Or at least it hasn't happened yet. My Rock Raiders videos didn't shake the world or anything, but the small number of folks who did watch them gave me positive encouragement to keep going. For pretty much the first year, the channel sat at just under 100 subscribers. This didn't bother me in the slightest. If you go back to some of my older videos, you can actually hear me hope aloud that things would stay this way. I used to have this running joke that I would delete my channel if it ever hit 1,000 subscribers. I really did enjoy being YouTube's best kept secret. Going back to those videos today, I noticed a few things. For one thing, it took way too long for anyone to tell me that the music was too loud. My modern videos put the background music a full 10 decibels quieter than it used to. Secondly, I can plainly see my attempts to be different than other creators on the platform. Jang and Trick Bricks did their photography against white, R.R. Slugger did his photography against black, and also learned why most people don't do their photography against black. Somewhat surprisingly, Slugger also wasn't afraid to show his weird side in these early videos. 4960 Giant Zoo and The Tragedy of Darth Slugger the Wise are both rather left-field outings for a slug just starting out. I think this kind of proves that channel growth and content consistency were never really goals of mine, and honestly, that's still true today. In April of 2021, the channel had grown to about 250 subscribers. However, in the following 30 days, the secret would be spilled. It all started when Brick System Brothers indirectly informed me that another LEGO color of Rock Raiders fame was being retired, Trans Neon Orange. I felt compelled to make a video about it, and this set off a chain reaction I couldn't stop. Much to my surprise, the YouTube algorithm decided to show this video to everyone and their mother, despite its niche intended audience. I even start the video by saying, "Hey Rock Raiders," long before I ever settled on my more general, "Hey folks" introduction. To this day, this is still one of my most popular videos, and I don't think I could have chose a worse first impression to give to the world. Oh, okay, maybe I could have, but this was still a nerdy, niche topic that was only meant to be seen by 200 people, not 200,000 people. This was certainly my first experience with a general audience, and with it came a whole range of comments. Some people got it, and some people didn't. It's funny to me how this was such an anomaly for my channel back then, as this has long become the norm in recent years. Nonetheless, with an influx of viewership came an influx of subscribership, and just before Slugger's first birthday, we broke the 1,000 subscriber milestone and I deleted my channel. Hooray! The end. But in our timeline, I didn't, and I kept going. Slugger's second year on YouTube is largely marked by expanding the scope of what I wanted to cover. There was still an overarching Rock Raiders through line to many of the videos, but I had roped other LEGO themes into the mix too, such as Time Cruisers and Orient Expedition. This was also the year where the channel received the ability to be monetized, and I got to see firsthand how YouTube operated under the hood. I still remember my shock in learning that mid-roll ads were a setting that YouTube creators could choose to implement, meaning they could just as easily choose not to implement them. You've never seen a mid-roll ad on a Slugger video because I chose the latter. Why would I put all this time and effort into editing the pacing of my videos only to break them up with advertisements? During this year, the YouTube algorithm visited me for what would turn out to be the last time, thankfully. There have been hits, but there have never been mega hits to the tune of The Piece That Could Save Life on Mars or The Noble Art of Studless Baseplates since. These videos, along with the Great LEGO Plague of 2002, certainly showed off the nerdiness inherent in RR Slugger. However, they did so in a way that wasn't so tailor-made for a niche audience. In my opinion, these play much better to a general crowd than my video about Trans Neon Orange from year one. The lessons learned here would largely become the template for other opinionated pieces I would create in the coming years. It was around this time that bigger channels started to take notice of RR Slugger. Shoutouts from creators like Paper Dawn and Solar Sands put a lot of new eyes on the channel, and Slugger was propelled from thousands of subscribers to tens of thousands of subscribers in just over 6 months. To this day, this is the most drastic spike in growth that the channel has received, and hopefully will ever receive. Like I said earlier, growth was never a goal of mine, though I suppose it felt inevitable. The secret was out, and I think this is truly when Slugger ceased to be a niche YouTuber. Now, I don't want it to sound like I'm resentful of the popularity Slugger garnered, and I also don't want to overstate this popularity either. 50,000 is a big number, but there are bigger numbers. I think more than anything, I just really enjoyed having a smaller channel. I liked having conversations with folks and connecting with them on a more personal level. I also liked having a niche audience who shared similar perspectives on the topics I brought up. Now, obviously there are advantages to having a larger channel as well, and I think we can see it firsthand within Slugger's 3rd year. Case in point, the Summer of Slug. In order to pull off the YouTube full-time shtick like I did here, I had to reach a critical mass of viewership. That simply wasn't going to happen back in the best-kept secret days. And for as much as I pine over once being a small channel, the first Summer of Slug is one of my fondest memories surrounding this channel. Everything in my personal life was going belly up, and we were making things up as we went along. Still, the summer proved to be a creative success, and financially, the generosity that donors showed to me also proved that this was something feasible, perhaps repeatable. The success of the channel in its 3rd year also resulted in something I never thought possible: recognition in an official LEGO set. Marin Stipkovich created a tiny RR Slugger build in his Cozy House 3-in-1 set, in acknowledgement for a review I made of his Rock Monster Truck polybag the previous year. To this day, I remain incredibly grateful and humbled by this honor. The significance of being immortalized in LEGO is not lost on me. Slugger has also made an impact on the nomenclature surrounding our hobby. I'm tickled whenever I see folks refer to plague parts or Galador joints, especially out in the wild, not just in my comment section. It makes me proud to see that some folks have taken some of my nerdy observations to heart. After that first Summer of Slug, I entered my Linux era and have never looked back. To heck with Windows, to heck I say. With Linux, video creation and day-to-day operations have never been easier. My computer is finally my computer again. I mention this change because this was kind of the last major channel milestone up until the 50,000 subscriber mark today. It's not like I created nothing of value during the midterm. Some of my favorite Slugger videos come from this time span. However, I will say that the character of the channel had largely calcified by this point in time. I never stopped being a nerd, using big words to talk about the LEGO sets of yesteryear, but the videos became less esoteric in and of themselves, I think. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's a Rubicon that can only be forged once. R.R. Slugger plays to a bigger crowd now, and those small venue appearances are becoming few and far between. It's a bittersweet celebration today, because while I take a lot of pride in my work on this platform, I still see myself as just a slug on the internet sharing his opinion, even though somewhere along the way, the perception of my channel shifted in the eyes of many. With size comes status, and I think some folks put a lot of stock in my opinions of things. Too much stock, if you ask me. It was never my intention to become an authority figure on this platform, but this is often how I see my opinions treated within the comment section, and I'm still coming to terms with this. So, on one hand, I'll say what I've always said. I hope this channel doesn't get bigger. I miss being able to respond to every comment, and I miss not being the target of derision or rudeness. To be frank, the average viewer was just nicer to me when I was a smaller channel. On the other hand, 50,000 is a big number, and the positivity that has been generated surrounding the channel far outweighs even the loudest of naysayers. We just wrapped up our third, and by my account, best Summer of Slug yet, and none of that would have been possible without the genuine and selfless support of so many people. To those who see the earnestness in what I do on this platform, thank you for supporting my art. 50,000 is a big number, and you are a big part of that. Thanks for watching, everyone. I've been your host, R.R. Slugger, and I'll see you next time in another video.